Hello there. In this video, we will address the issue of how AI might help or hurt, or how we might learn to use it in a way that helps rather than hurt in the context of research, writing, publication, and scholarship, especially for emerging scholars across the disciplines and across the world, as you're trying to flesh out the social purpose of your intellectual and research agenda as scholars. We have Dr. Amit Pratama, who is a librarian and an information science specialist. So I wanted to get your thoughts and perspectives, experiences, and expertise on some of these fundamental questions. For example, AI could be, in the context of this training, and for scholars, especially in the Global South, could be a blessing in many ways, and it could be a curse. I worry a little bit. Sometimes some of us tend to think, it's so great, it does this, but we haven't really tested or know about the other side. Like, no, don't do that. But others may be like, no, don't use it. It will always mess up things, right? And so either running too far to the extreme of don't use it or, this is perfect. So let me ask you the first question. How could AI tools help our research mission, and how could it hurt that mission, especially if we are advancing knowledge in or about the Global South or outside of the mainstream where AI may not be designed for people like us?
AI is emerging technology, and this is actually it's true for any other technologies in the past. We need to treat this technology as tools. So they are tools. They are meant to help us, to assist us, not to replace us. So we have to be the main actor. We have to be the one in the driving seat. So we can actually use AI or generative AI or LLMs as a brainstorming partner, for instance. So it happens sometime when we got stuck when we run out of ideas, for instance, and we can ask questions to AI. I have this idea, this kind of thing, but what do you think? You can ask AI actually what they think about this idea, and then give you some whatever feedback, but you will have to critically think of whatever the output this AI gives you. And then depending in, sometimes the output that they give you can actually trigger something, a new change of thought in your brain. And then that can actually help you generate something else out, based on that output. But don't just, type in a prompt and then
copy and paste
whatever output from the AI, and use it as the draft or the articles itself. Now that's kind of hurting more than it helps. So brainstorming partner is a good way to use AI or generative AI or LLMs. They can also be useful for helping you with tedious tasks, for instance, especially if you're, for instance, like coding or programmer, or for data scientists, for instance. Whenever we write codes or something, sometimes when we run the code, when we compile the code, sometimes we run into errors or something. You can actually use the tools and generative AI right now to help you troubleshoot these errors, and then explain this error in a simpler terms, and then help you fix that code, fix that errors. And then I've done this kind of thing a few times actually. Then it can help. I don't trust AI to write the code for me, but I trust AI to help me fix the mistake with my own code. So that's one thing. And then finally, I think this is also true for any other non-native English speakers, especially when we submit our article to journal, for instance. They actually ask us to proofread the article first, and sometimes this proofreading can cost like a lot. So AI can actually help you proofread, but you have to be very, very careful on how you prompt this AI. Otherwise, they will just change the entire sentence or the entire paragraph and place the entirety. But if you specifically ask this generative AI to identify any errors and just fix this error, don't make any major changes in the original text, I can actually do wonder with this kind of thing. So that's how AI can help. But again, just like any other technologies, it's double-edged sword. So on the one hand, it can be helpful, but on the other hand, it can be hurting. When we rely so much on AI in helping us improve our writing or paraphrase or writing, because this AI, they're trained on American data, mostly American data, American style. There's so many research published in this area where ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or any generative AI in the market, you name it, they think of as if they're an American. Or more specifically, if we were to anthropomorphize generative AI, it's as if they're a white male American living in San Francisco or in Palo Alto, in Silicon Valley. So that's what their mindset is. That's if you ask ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, just what they think of something without specified prompt, like act as if you're a someone from this area or from this region, for instance.
A
That
disabled
kind of
woman
prompt
in a
engineering.
poor community in Myanmar, right?
Yes, this kind of
It's
thing.
not going to be able to do it. It will pretend to do
No.
it.
It will attempt to do it, but not in a very good way. Even if you use specific prompt engineering to ask it to emulate or to simulate certain group of people, it will try to do it still better than the default mindset that it has, which is the West Coast American. But yeah, I mean,
if it is not able to represent you and me in the East Coast, two brown guys from another country, imagine what it can, who have lived here and got their degrees here, then think
yeah,
about what it can do to other people around the world.
yes,
Yeah.
that's. But yeah, so yeah, that's the point of view or the paradigm that this generative AI uses. So if we rely so much on this, it can actually reduce or even eliminate the originality of our own style of writing, style of storytelling. We shouldn't rely on AI tool to generate like the substance or the main content of whatever content that we are creating. We can use them to help polish, we can use them to help refine, provide feedback, or improve, basically to improve, but not to shape like the actual content itself.
We'll go deeper into this issue. So let me follow up with another question that we have for the conversation. The question is, what stages of research and the writing process it can help without hurting, and what stages it can hurt without helping? We could benefit from the potential without hurting if we know our own research mission, as you're saying. One is the line between what is helpful and what is not helpful are going to shift because AI is rapidly shifting. It cannot do something today. After 2 months, they update it and it can do that. So what you and I say in this video may not be true in May of 2025, right? And therefore, people need to understand that. Is it already able to do it, or is it pretending to do it? Does it have access to the data, or is it just pretending that it knows everything? And once we understand that, we are going to take a different approach. You're not going to listen to us, oh, Sam knows everything about writing in AI. Ahmad knows everything about research in AI, right? No. We can only tell you to ask the right question at the right time. So the idea is test it, don't trust it, see if it can help, see if it doesn't. So far, there's no AI that says, rely on me, I'm completely believable, what I say is all factual. No, not yet. I was reading this book about the myth of artificial intelligence by Eric Larson, and it says, unless we reinvent the coding, the underlying computer science of it, they are not actually reading, they're not actually writing, they're not actually searching, they are processing. They are information processing, and that's not the same thing as human beings working with language, meaning making, interpreting, contextualizing, understanding culture, values, emotions, relationships, ethics, morality. These are whole new paradigms. That means the information processing of language, information processing of ideas is going to only look like human beings do it. It's simulation, emulation, pretending. And once you are able to judge, is this good? Then use it. If you're not able to judge it, you are in a little sketchy situation, right? If I cannot tell if my drunk uncle is telling me the truth, I don't know if I should go in that direction. A drunk man in the village will tell you, oh, you should go here and go there, and then you'll find that house. Well, you go to the house, you're in the wrong house, right? So there is the drunken quality of it, but extremely knowledgeable. As long as you realize that it could be unreliable, as Ahmed was saying, I think it's a good idea to use it. Second, when it comes to the process, I read an article recently. It was such a stupid article. I don't know why people want to publish all the time. And this guy pretended that he knows everything about AI use in the writing process. But as a writing professor, I know it is not true. I'm not going to mention the author. I'm bringing up the article because people have a lot of really bad ideas about AI. Here's what he said. He said, you can create the abstract with AI. And I'm like, wait, no. Maybe he was saying that you can write the abstract after you've written the article and feed the article to the AI and say, make an abstract out of it. Fine. But still, I would still go and really carefully edit the abstract, make sure it included everything I would include, make sure it says in the right word that I would say, and make sure that it doesn't do what you wouldn't do. So great, but he went too far. Then he went to the introduction, and I'm like, nah, don't. An introduction is where you are coming up with your own sort of intellectual positioning in relation to a context and topic, problem and gap, or method and findings. This is where you really assert your human agency. You can use the tool to write the first draft, as Ahmed is saying, but this guy was saying, just let it write it for you. And I'm like, no. And then the literacy review is where I wanted to pull my hair completely. He said, don't do the literacy review, let the AI do it. And I go, my God, where did you get your PhD? Because the literacy review is when it depends. Sometimes you write a literacy review which is a summary of existing knowledge on the topic. If you believe that AI can adequately locate and summarize the resources that you need, then maybe that's good enough for you. I'm not going to judge you. But number one, if you know that it does not have access to all of the academic databases that you would manually search by going to academic databases, because they only have internet stuff and a few databases, right? 90% of academic databases, I don't think they have full access yet. In 5 years, maybe they will. So problem one, it was actually not having the information that you have access to. So maybe you need a different AI tool where you can feed all the 10 articles that you found. Okay, then can it create a literature review out of the 10 articles that you feed, like Notebook LM, instead of ChatGPT search? Maybe, if you believe that it reads the same way that you would do. Number three, even if it finds or you provide the information, and even if it reads in a reliable manner, what about your personal decision about what you want to say about existing scholarship? What about your expertise and your original intellectual vantage point? Are you going to tell your neighbor to go to the gym for you and say, oh, why didn't you go to the gym for me? No, I thought you want to go to the gym because you want to exercise your body, assert your position, right? Have the muscles. So those, if you want just a summary, if you know it has access, or if you provide all the 10 articles to be summarized, then do it. But if you define your literature review not as a summary, but as an intellectual vantage point, intellectual framing, intellectual positioning in relation to existing research, your own confident voice, then that guy was saying a bunch of BS, right? Because literature review depends on what you mean by it. Then he goes on to say, oh, you can give it your data and it will process for you. Oh, hang on. Should you not check if it is able to do it, right? If you're a computer scientist, maybe you may need the right tool. Then maybe there's no tool that can do it yet. And maybe even if it can do it, maybe you should double check. So anyway, when he went to the discussion, finding the discussion, he was okay. He was saying, okay, be careful, be careful, be careful. But when we went to the abstract and introduction and literature review, he was like, no. I would urge my colleagues to check it. I would ask them do you want to do it yourself? Do you want to do it yourself? Do you believe this? Do you trust this, right? And then with the conclusion, maybe, yeah, it's easier to let the AI do a little bit of it. For him, the sort of curve is like starts up there and goes up here and goes up here. For me, the curve starts really at the bottom, right? And it goes like this. In other words, I would be a little bit more suspicious. I would be a little bit more asking more questions because the tools are not fully developed yet. They don't have full access to the academic databases yet. When they say they can read, it's a marketing trick. It gives the impression of reading. It gives the impression. So see where you land by actually trying it. If you try the article introduction and see if it does a good job, maybe that's fine, right? However, at the end of the day, I don't think we should quote anything that AI generates because it's a string of plausible words. A string of plausible words, even after you confirm is a good string of plausible words, it's not the same thing as this gentleman with PhD in front of me. I don't think we should quote AI. We should not confuse reliability with efficiency and speed. We should not confuse intellectual originality and wow, that looks so impressive. Are you simply impressed because it's a machine, or is it better than you? Are you impressed because you are not there yet and you should be? Are you impressed because you're worse than ChatGPT in your own work? You have a PhD. Or are you impressed because it is able to do it? These are the questions I would ask. And in the process of writing, it depends on your ability to ask, judge, assess, and decide. Oh, one thing that I would quickly add is scholarship is based on new evidence. AI may be generating plausible patterns, which is not the same thing as finding new evidence. Scholarship interprets the new evidence. AI may not be able to interpret. Scholarship is new hypothesis. It may not be able to create plausible hypotheses. Scholarship is, not delegating thinking, but rather enhancing our originality and agency. Scholarship is contextual, cultural. Scholarship is changing and challenging existing patterns of thought, not repeating. AI is repeating. Scholarship is protecting other people's ideas and honoring other people's ideas. AI is mixing and mashing like mashed potato. Scholarship is, understanding the limitations of the boundaries and pushing those boundaries outward. And therefore, all of these questions about what scholarship is and why not I would use an unreliable uncle to help me along the way is a question we should ask and answer for ourselves. Let's go to the third question. What are some misconceptions that you have heard that scholars have embraced about AI?
I think you touch on this one already in the previous questions, because some people they think this generative AI can actually think, can actually reason, especially newer model where still it's based on probabilities. It's still based on machine learning and deep learning, basically. Yeah. So it's statistical. It's not like whenever human think, whenever human being thinks, we actually use like everything that we have at some point or on some occasions, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know the context at all. For instance, if you have no understanding on the topic itself, yes, you can't really judge whether the content is accurate or not. So it's really, really, really important to know that. And yeah, remember, even though some AI right now, some generative AI, they do have access to the internet. Yes, previously when it was launched 2 years ago, it had no access to the internet, and its knowledge is limited to up to 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. For some time it was limited, and now it's actually able to access the internet. But still,
it
doesn't
have up hallucination and made up hyperlinks and made up non-existing internet information or broken pages. We do need to double check. It doesn't mean that it says if you go here you're going to find this, but if you actually click on the link, it doesn't go there.
No. Yep, it doesn't go there. Exactly. And also it doesn't have access to the academic databases.
Oh, 90% up. No.
It doesn't have the so you can actually get a better result searching in Google Scholar compared to searching in ChatGPT or Gemini or any other large language model, because they don't have access to those academic databases. I was surprised when you mentioned this article suggests that you can
Oh,
actually
there's so many advice.
delegate the literature review to generative AI. I mean,
You can use it. For example, if you put an article and say, hey, this article is talking about X, I'm talking about Y. Can you help me to bring this into the conversation?
yeah,
We point out something that, oh, wow, that's so great. This is exactly how I want to position myself. It's
that's the
your
brainstorming. Yeah,
right? It's very good at making you think. But if it is taking your thinking and not
no,
making your thinking, then you are becoming a fool. I think it should foster your thinking. I think it should make you write,
yeah,
improve your writing. I think it should improve your organization. A lot of people think, oh, I don't know how to write. Let me ask the AI to write. No, writing is not simply just rendering what you already think. It is helping you to think. It's shaping, giving shape to your thinking, right? The process is very transformative. If I run
yeah,
up the hill, the process of running up the hill is very different from if I sit down and watch somebody running up the hill and say, I know how to do that. No, you have to run up the hill
you have to do it.
if
Yep.
you really want to do it. And
Yeah,
scholarship is
exactly.
experiential. It is transformative. It is the journey. It is not sitting there and watching someone do it. But I'd like to follow up with a quick question. I want to wrap up. What are the long-term impacts of using AI, especially on the creativity, the usage of intellectual capacity? Are you worried that it will take away what scholars learn in the process of research by simply locating and giving you, oh, read this, right? What happened in the process of finding? What happens in the process of reading? What happens in the process of annotating, analyzing, synthesizing, citing, engaging? Are you worried that it may take those difficult thinking part of it so that when you take the struggle out of the process, then the idea, the quality of this research and scholarship will go down? Or do you think people get, if they're consciously using to help, do you think it might also add? How optimistic are you?
Well, yeah, it down to the users at the end of the day. So just like I let me use like scientific calculator, for instance,
Mm,
as an analogy here.
mm,
If we teach our kids, like young kids, like at the very young age, they haven't started doing like manual calculations, like addition, subtractions, just the basic, and then we just give them a scientific calculator that can do everything quickly. Those kids, I don't think will grow up as good scientists.
uh-huh.
But if they already master on how these calculations, like they're at college level where they're trying to solve like complex mathematical equations, the scientific calculator can actually help speed up the process.
But if
This,
someone
I
doesn't
think,
know how to use the calculator and someone does not know how to conceptualize the mathematical problem because before
yeah,
they can render that into a whatever needs to be entered into the calculator, that's a problem. If I don't know
that's
what I'm
problem.
researching, if I don't know what prompt I need to ask the AI, enhance my own thinking, then I'll be producing junk like that guy who
Yeah,
wrote the journal article about how to use AI. And I'm like, my God, maybe he's very impressive to a lot of people, but if I were to meet that guy, it'd be like, oh God, stop talking. Yes. So I think it's all about elevating your level by using all the means that you have.
yeah.
But with the AI, this is not just calculator because it does not calculate all the thinking and the analysis and the,
Hmm.
calculator at least was doing objective things that was
Yeah,
totally reliable, right? We may get there in 20 years, or we may never get there because this is not math. What is happening today is not 2 plus 2 is 4. What is happening
yeah,
today is culture, knowledge, values, ethics, critical thinking, new questions, imagination, originality, whatever machine cannot do. Again, this book says we have to really stop thinking. Processing is thinking. Processing and thinking are different. We have to really push back against the hijacking of the human metaphors by the designers of AI. They're saying it can think, it can read, it can write, it can research, it can summarize, it can write. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You're confusing, right? You're confusing processing with thinking. Our brains are not computers. And please stop stealing human metaphors to sell your products. And that is why I think we will never reach a point where these things will become a calculator. Will become like calculators in many ways, as long as we are capable of using them, right? But the analogy will break at some point because thinking is not calculating. Thinking is far more multidimensional than simple objective process, right? Yeah. Finally, though, what are the implications of all of these for scholars in the global south? Because you mentioned the Silicon Valley angle. Can you say something about someone who's sitting down to write a journal article in Indonesia or Nepal or Brazil? And is there anything different? You talked about a journal article that you had written before we started this conversation.
This is actually interesting because I just recently submitted an article, currently still under review. So I did my own experiment where I picked several journal articles pre-ChatGPT, so 2019, 2020, and 2021, published in 2021. So I scrapped their abstracts. So I ran this abstract into AI text detector because so many research articles published starting 2023, some of them actually were generated by ChatGPT, and even in some reputable journal, we can actually see some prompt are still in there. I mean, yes, as large language model, I can definitely help you write this introduction that meant into the production. So yeah. And then some journals try to fight this by employing AI text detectors. So this is, cat and mouse situation. And the AI text detector is actually based on some other research published in this past few years. They're actually biased against non-native English speakers. They tend to flag because it's just normal for non-native English speakers to write in more formal or more robotic ways compared to the native English speakers. They're more likely to flag English written by the non-native English speakers as if it's written by generative AI. So I picked the abstracts, ran it into AI text detectors, and to see whether they're bias between the native English speakers and the non-native English speakers. The 5 Anglo-speakers country, in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, versus the global south, mostly. Those where English is spoken by fewer than 50% of the population. I also use the ChatGPT and Gemini to generate abstract, totally generated abstract just based on the title of the article and also the journal where the article was published. And then finally, the third one. So I had three different data set. The first one is the human generated abstracts, which is the original from pre-ChatGPT. The second one was AI generated abstracts, ChatGPT and Gemini, based on the title and also based on the journal. And then finally, I asked ChatGPT and Gemini to proofread and improve the readability of the existing human written abstract, because ChatGPT can actually help you, or any other language module can help you fix those errors. Based on the experiment result, the AI assisted or AI proofread text that is originally written by non-native English speakers, they are more likely to be flagged as totally AI generated by AI text detectors. So one in four is detected as AI generated.
That's scary because you may have written all the work yourself, but you got AI assistants, and 5 years down the road, your university decides to double check everybody, and there are a lot of other people that are really bad cheaters, and you are caught. I hope that tragic situation doesn't happen, right? But at the end of the day, even if you're falsely accused of AI, you can go to bed with peace thinking, I do my own work. I don't publish anything created by a machine that creates possible patterns of thought. I need to know what the diseases are. I need to know how to build the bridge. I need to know how to run the economy. I need to know how to teach the students. I need to know whatever it is that you do in the world. And if you cannot connect to what you do in the world and say, how can it help me to do that, but rather not fake things, make things, pretend things, but be a real scholar with the ability, then you are going to use AI in the right way. And I hope if you keep researching, what does AI do? What does AI, what can ChatGPT do? What can it not do? I think it's time to learn about the tools so that you can decide when to use it, when not to use it, when to trust it, when not to trust it. You know, it is very dependent on your own context, but I hope that today's video raised a good enough number of questions you can ask, and criteria by which you can judge, and pathways and avenues where you can further explore. Our objective was to help you to explore. It was not to tell you what to do and what not to do, but raising the questions has probably helped you to think about how to use it effectively and how not to use it when not to use it. So I guess that's it for now, Ahmad.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody.
You're very well.
Thank you so much for the contribution.